welcome to my channel. Today I'm back with another Dollar Tree Christmas sign DIY video. I did a video about a week or two ago where I transformed 2 of the hanging Christmas Dollar Tree signs. I really loved how those turned out, so I decided to do 2 more. This is kind of like a part 2 to that video. I really hope that you guys are enjoying all of my Christmas DIYs. If you are, please give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below which sign from today's video is your favorite. Let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. For sign number 1, the materials I used were this hanging sign from Dollar Tree, garland ties from Dollar Tree, wooden words from the Target Dollar Spot, Waverly chalk paint in the color ink and in plaster, folk art chalk paint in Castle and also in Java, paintbrushes, scissors, sandpaper, painter's tape, a black paint pen from Dollar Tree, and my hot glue gun. To start out, I'm cutting off the hanger that's already attached to this sign, and I'm going to be using the back side of this for my project today. So I'm just peeling off the sticker that was attached to it, and since it did have a sticky residue after I peeled the sticker off, I'm using some sandpaper to just sand off all of that stickiness. Now that I have a nice smooth surface, I'm painting on my chalk paint in the color Castle, and I did have to use 2 coats of this paint. I'm also making sure that I'm painting along all of the sides and edges of this sign. After my paint has completely dried, I'm then going to be using some painter's tape to create what appears to look like wood slats. This sign luckily already had the cutouts pre-made on this sign, so I'm just setting my painter's tape right along those cutout edges. Some of the cutouts were a little bit thicker than what my painter's tape was, so I'm just setting another piece of painter's tape on top of it just to create a thicker line. Next, I'm dry brushing my chalk paint in the color Java and the spaces between all of my painter's tape, and this is going to give me that nice distressed look that I like so much. Now that I have that all painted on, I'm just peeling off all of my painter's tape. For all of the spaces that were underneath my painter's tape, I'm now dry brushing my chalk paint in the color ink over top of all 3 of them. And to add just a little bit more dimension, I'm dry brushing my chalk paint in the color plaster over top of my entire sign. I was going to leave my sign painted just like this, but then decided I wanted to have some black lines in between all of my slats, so I'm putting some painter's tape along those cutout edges once again, and then placing another piece of tape right underneath the tape, leaving a very small space in between. Once my tape is applied, then I'm taking my black paint marker from Dollar Tree and just drawing between all of the painter's tape. And then after the lines are drawn on, I'm just peeling off all of my tape. I'm continuing the steps of applying my painter's tape along all of the cutout edges and then drawing with my black paint marker in the spaces between all of the tape, and then just peeling back the tape once the lines have been drawn on. Now I'm using these 2 garland ties from Dollar Tree to create my wreath. I'm bending them into a half circle and then taking the top and bottom ends and twisting them together until I have formed an entire circle. Next, I'm taking this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree and wrapping it around the top of my wreath and just measuring how long I want it to be at the very top, cutting off the ends and then hot gluing them together. And then gluing the 2 ends of the ribbon on the back side of this sign. Next up, I'm painting this wooden believe word that I got from the Target Dollar Spot. It came in a pack of words, and I'm painting this with my chalk paint in the color plaster, and I'm making sure that I'm painting around all of the edges. After my word has completely dried, I'm then just making sure that it's centered before I start gluing it down. I'm placing some hot glue in a few different spots on the back of my word and then pressing it down right in the center of my sign. To attach the wreath to the front of my sign, I'm using a little bit of hot glue on the top and bottom of the wreath. Next, I'm creating a bow with my buffalo check ribbon. I'm taking the ribbon over top of my pointer and my middle finger, then I'm zigzagging that ribbon through those 2 fingers. I'm taking the end of the ribbon and I'm pushing it through the hole that's closest to my hand between my pointer and my middle finger. I'm then taking that end ribbon piece and I'm going to be looping it through the bottom ribbon that has a loop in it. I'm just pulling that ribbon piece right through that hole and pulling it really tight. I hope I explained that okay. It is kind of hard to explain, but I did slow the video down a little bit so that you could see more of what I was doing. I'm cutting both ends of my ribbon in a diagonal shape and then gluing this double bow right in the center of my burlap ribbon. For the last step, I'm restringing some jute through the pre-drilled holes to make my hanger. And this is the sign all finished. I think it turned out beautiful and I love the simplicity of it. And now moving on to sign number 2. The materials I used for this one are this hanging red truck sign from Dollar Tree, this Christmas tree printout I created on my computer, 10 popsicle sticks, Waverly chalk paint in plaster, folk art chalk paint in the color Imperial and also in Java, folk art acrylic paint in Old Ivy, paintbrushes, sandpaper, scissors, a white paint pen from Dollar Tree, chalk, and my hot glue gun. To start out, I'm using my sandpaper to sand off all of the glitter that's on this sign, and there was a lot of glitter, so it did take a little bit of sanding, but I wanted to make sure that I got it all off. And there was a little bit of raised lettering, and I wanted that off as well. I'm then peeling off the tree that's attached to this truck using an old screwdriver and then just taking off the berry garland, and I am going to be setting this aside to use later. I did decide to keep this truck a red color. I'm using my Imperial chalk paint and then I mixed in some of the Java paint, but I didn't mix it really well. I still wanted to have some of the brown like swirling through the paint to give it like an old look. And I'm just painting the entire red part of the truck with this paint. And I did do 2 coats of this paint. Once all of that paint has dried, I'm then taking my Java colored chalk paint again and I'm dry brushing that over top of the entire truck, and I'm focusing around all of the raised edges. This is going to give it a really like old, distressed look. I wanted the truck to look really dirty and like a farm truck. I'm then dry brushing some of my plaster colored chalk paint around the raised edges by the tires and then around the edges on the top of the truck. Next up, I'm using some hot glue to glue my popsicle sticks together. I'm gluing 2 sticks together so that I can have 5 different sets of sticks. Now I'm painting all of the popsicle sticks with my chalk paint in the color plaster, and I did only do a 1 coat of this paint. I'm cutting down my printed image so that it's a little bit easier to place on my truck, and I will have this printable linked down below. Next, I'm coloring along all of the back of my words with some chalk. This is going to help me be able to transfer all of the words onto my truck. I'm centering my image between the 2 tires of the truck and then using a pen to write over all of the words so that the chalk transfers onto the front of the truck. Now I'm using my white paint marker from Dollar Tree and writing over all of the words that I just transferred with my chalk. Now I'm attaching the popsicle sticks onto the back of my truck using some hot glue. This is going to create the bed of my truck, and I'm just measuring how long in between my popsicle sticks I need to glue them, and then just placing the hot glue right on the stick and attaching it to the back of the truck. And then for the front pieces, I'm just putting a little bit of hot glue on each end of the popsicle sticks and then pressing it down. I'm dry brushing the Java colored paint over top of all of the plaster colored popsicle sticks to give it a dirty look to go with the rest of the truck. For my tree, I just flipped it over. I'm using the back side of it so that I have a clean slate, and I'm painting it in my acrylic paint in the color Old Ivy, and I did do 1 coat of this paint. For the trunk of the tree, I'm using my Java colored chalk paint once again, and I'm just painting that over top of the trunk, and I did only do 1 coat of this paint as well. And then I wanted to add the appearance of snow on my tree, so I'm taking the plastered color paint and just painting a little bit of that along all of the edges and then just a little bit on the middle part of the tree. I'm reusing the garland that came on the tree. I'm just rewrapping it the same as it was, and I did switch up the direction of the way the tree faces. And to attach the tree, I'm using a little bit of hot glue on a few different spots of my tree and then just pressing down until the glue has completely dried so that the tree stays in place. I'm using a very small piece of the garland ties and I'm forming it into a circle, and this is going to be a wreath on the front of my bed, and then I'm using a little bit of hot glue to attach it to the bed part of the truck. Now I'm making a small bow with a very small piece of jute, and I'm hot gluing that right on the very top of my wreath. For the last step, I'm making a hanger with some jute and then attaching it with some hot glue on the back of my truck. And this is my red truck sign all finished. It's still a red truck, but I've updated it to fit a little bit better with my farmhouse decor. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Be sure to hit that notification bell so you can be notified for all of my future videos. Thank you so much for watching.